What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of 100 Yards Football Sports Talk Radio. I'll be your host and producer, Logan Landers. And joining me to talk about the Big 12, our weekly roundup, and some game previews, as always, is Brandon Larson. Brandon, how you doing this afternoon, man?
Doing good, man. Enjoying the day. Good as Tuesday as ever. And, dude, ready to break down some football. There's some spectacular matchups this week. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm about to say a lot going on this week. Picked 4 really solid games. Can't wait to get into those. But before we start, if you guys enjoy the show, like, comment, share, and of course, subscribe. We go live each and every single week here on the channel with our Big 12 roundups, as well as other great sports content, other game previews for college and for NFL, and of course, amazing interviews as well each and every single week here on the channel. Once again, Facebook, YouTube, main 2 video platforms. But you can also download our podcast wherever you enjoy listening to your podcast platform. So, Brandon, I say let's go ahead and get into this one. Our first game we have up here on the bracket for this upcoming week is going to be Arizona taking on Houston. Noon kickoff for this one. And let's get your thoughts on this one coming into it. How you feel about Arizona first and foremost?
Arizona's coming off a tough loss. They battled to the very end. I kind of called it. I said I thought Arizona would test BYU more than BYU had been tested, but I did think that BYU would be able to pull it out in the end. However, the way it went, I feel like Arizona had multiple chances to kind of put that game away, and kind of shot themselves in the foot. So, coming off that tough loss, you got a lot to learn from on it. Fafita looked good. Their defense, I think that's probably the biggest thing that sticks out to me is Arizona's, they're not usually known for their defense, but they got a legit defense down there. They were flying to the ball. They made Bogmeyer look as freshman as he's looked all season. So, I like their chances in this one, especially with both teams kind of coming off of, tough losses. Houston's loss to Texas Tech was a little more, I would say, suspected. They've just been steamrolling everybody, and so it's like I said, it's kind of a toss up because I feel like both teams are getting it going offensively. Like I like Connor Wingman and Dean Connors. They're leading the rushing attack over there for Houston. And then their defense is stepping up too. Like Carlos Allen, it's not very often you see a D tackle that leads his team or is right there in lead of his team for total tackles. Usually they're at the bottom of the chart with fewer tackles. Usually it's a linebacker safety that leads. And when you see a D tackle leading his team in tackles, that's impressive. So I think there's going to be some good matchups. How well can that line contain Mahdi? And then kind of on the same side, how well can Houston contain Noah Fafita? Because I think he was kind of finding his groove. Like he was one play away from walking away with the win.
Yeah, no doubt. But, looking at Arizona, like I said, very impressive showing. Couldn't pull it off in the end in double OT against a game BYU team. Lost 33-27 in that matchup. But overall, good showing. Like I said, Fafita went pretty good overall, right? 219 for 25 of 45. You like the efficiency to be a little bit better than that, I think. 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, not too bad. Chris Hudson was phenomenal at the receiving core. He had 9 grams for 106, so definitely something to watch out for there. Of course, you got how do you feel about Rixana, right? 13 carries, 90 yards. Did get a touchdown. Do you think that maybe if they utilize him a little bit more against Houston, that'll kind of help balance it out a little bit better so Fafita doesn't have to throw the ball nearly as much?
Yeah, they've got to establish a running presence, but I think that's also credit to BYU and their run defense, why they had a hard time, getting the run game going.
Right.
But yeah, definitely got to be a little more balanced, less one-dimensional.
I think also too, the one thing that did, like I said, hurt Arizona in the end in that game with BYU is both teams didn't score in the third quarter. Coincidentally, they were both shut out. Like I said, Arizona was still ahead at that point going into the fourth by just 3-point margin. They were up 17-14, and they slipped just there at the end. But that's credit to BYU. We've talked about them. We're going to continue to talk about how well they've played. They're like I said, for Bachmeier, this is kind of one of his least impressive games we've seen this year. He did struggle, but the team still pulled it out in the end, which is telling for, not just, the credit to how good this team is, but how good the coaching staff is. And will their way to an impressive win over a game Arizona team who, had been looking really good. And they're still, I think, even after the loss, are looking forward to Houston here. And talking about Houston, they got the impressive win over Oklahoma State. Everyone's been steamrolling Oklahoma State this year, unfortunately.
Impressive by margin, but maybe not by opponent.
Right. Yeah, but you got to kind of, take it with a grain of salt. But, hey, 39 points on the board, you'll take it. Like I said, Wegman got it done, 3 touchdowns in total, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground, proving that he can get it done. And, like I said, Houston, they've looked really good all season long. 5-1 record on the year. And they've looked solid on both sides of the ball, honestly, on offense and on defense. The most amount of points they gave up was to Oregon State. They gave up 24. That's impressive, for all the teams they faced. Texas Tech gave up 35. Their one loss of the season. But other than that, other than that one outlier, they've looked impressive, offensively and defensively. What can Houston do here in your eyes to pull out the win on this upcoming weekend?
I really feel like good balanced attack, and I kind of lean the home field advantage as well. Kind of got to give a 3-point advantage to Houston, just that it is being in Houston. Arizona tends to play a lot better at home. They kind of tend to struggle on the road. So I think keep up what they're doing right now. Texas Tech is kind of an outlier of, you can't really look at that and be like, oh well, they lost, like everybody's losing to Texas Tech. So I kind of look at it. They just got tried by a far superior opponent than Arizona did, I would say. And so who's both coming off tough losses, but Houston may find it's a little easier in the trenches all of a sudden from last week. So I think win in the trenches, and Connor's got to protect the football. Which that kind of leads me into my choice. I'm leaning Houston 27, Arizona 24.
I think it's going to be a good matchup, right? This is why we picked it kind of start the program, because it's going to bring the energy noon kickoff for this one. And honestly, Brandon, I can see it kind of swing either way. For me, I am going to go with Arizona Wildcats getting the win in this one. Pretty similar score, go a little bit higher score. Give me 30-27 in favor of the Wildcats. So I think that a little bit more offensive showing, at the noon kickoff. So we'll see how that goes. I think this is going to be a good matchup nonetheless. So let's keep moving here. Second game up on the slate. Talking Baylor and TCU. We've not talked much about Baylor here on the program, but we've seen that, it's their time to shine. We get to talk about, how the Bears been doing this year. And, of course, TCU with the Horned Frogs and, how good they've looked. So, Brandon, let's get your initial thoughts here. Let's talk about Baylor and how we got to this spot. We haven't talked about them a whole lot here on the show, but what do you like about them coming into this matchup?
So starting off with Baylor, I'm impressed with that Sawyer Robertson kid. He wasn't on my radar coming in. And I think he's really just seized the opportunity. He's 19 TDs to 4 interceptions on the season. It starts with him. He's leading his team, and then complement with Bryson Washington. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry right now, 5 TDs on the season. So they've operated a well balanced attack. A lot of their games seem to be pretty high scoring in that 30-35 range, it seems like. What really the Achilles heel for Baylor has been, as impressive as their offense has been, their defense hasn't been. And that's kind of been the issue. They did come up big in the game last week. They got that late interception that really turned the tide versus Kansas State. But I'd like to see a little more consistency out of Baylor's defense, because the level that their offense is playing at, they could be a pretty destructive team if they find a dominant defense.
No, that very well could be the case. And Baylor coming into this matchup 4-2 overall in the season. They've won back-to-back games against Oklahoma State and against Kansas State in their most recent win. 1-point margin for that one, but you take a win either way you can here in the NCAA. But talking about them and their team, like you mentioned, they've been pretty impressive this year. We haven't heard a whole lot about them on the football front in a handful of years, so it's nice to see Baylor getting some more spotlight. But like I said, with Robertson, he's looked tremendous this year. Like I said, over 2,000 yards, close to 20 touchdowns. So probably get that in this matchup here. Washington, as you said, he's been a great just kind of, guy in the backfield to help him out as well. Over 500 yards, 5 touchdowns on the ground as well. Pretty good balanced receiving core overall, right? Kobe Prentice,
Right.
he's got six touchdowns. Trigg, tight end, he's got 4. Cameron, wide receivers, got 3. So you've got some good players, all around on offense. Like I said, the defense is really where they need to kind of step it up this year. They only have 8 sacks on the year, which, by this point in the season, I feel like you should have a pretty decent amount more. 23 pass defended on, 5 INTs. So I mean, they can get it done. Like I said, in the backfield, like I said, that win against Kansas State that helped out. But I feel like if you can just maybe try and get more pressure on the quarterback, that could also, help you win games and get the win against TCU this upcoming Saturday. But let's switch on over and talk about the Horned Frogs here, Brandon. And TCU, like I said, that they rattled off a great start, 3 wins in a row, but they've struggled. 2 of their last 3 games have been losses, which includes a 41-28 loss at the hands of Kansas State. So obviously, for TCU, you're hoping that you can bounce back, but you're going against Baylor, who is game. How can the Horned Frogs turn their season around after a tough loss against K-State?
I mean, it starts with Hoover. He's been because I think he was injured last week, wasn't he? Or no? Got injured.
So yeah, I believe so.
He ended up playing, but he played injured, and I think that kind of had an effect on his level of play, because I saw a report that he's showing a lot healthier this week. But it kind of starts with him. I mean, 18 TDs, 18 TDs, 6 interceptions on the season. So, I mean, he's slinging it. His favorite target, easily Eric McAllister, which, dude, that dude's been fun to watch. I'm not going to lie. He's got, I think it's between him and Jordan Tyson for who's the best wide receiver in the Big 12. And I kind of feel like it's debatable right now. There's not one guy that can, like, definitively, you got an argument for both. So it's been interesting to watch that connection, because I think him and Hoover's chemistry is only growing. And then Jordan Dwyer's getting involved too, and becoming kind of a second target, because McAllister was kind of easily starting to become the go-to guy, and kind of, that's on a third down or key situations, they're doubling him. And Jordan Dwyer's getting going too. And I think their offense has been pretty explosive for the most part. And I'm actually thinking this game is going to be one of those more kind of a shootout, who has the ball at the end kind of feel.
Yeah, I definitely kind of get that vibe with it also. And like I said, for TCU with Hoover, he's looked impressive this season. I think overall, and the team I think has looked good in both sides of the ball. You mentioned McAllister, fun to watch, good player in the receiving core. I'd say, also kind of going with, with Baylor, the point there, that if they can get the running game just a little bit more, more even, I would say, on par with the offense, right? Because right now your leading runner is Kavorian Barnes, who's only got 285 yards on 49 carries. So he's averaging 5.8. I just feel like you can give him the ball a little bit more. Like I said, because it is, you do see with Hoover, he's got 6 INTs, he's got 11 sacks. So, I mean, maybe, if you drop those off, if you just, convert a couple of those into run plays, you can help out a little bit more there. But hey, I mean, you can always look back at the tape and, criticize what you can fix and not. But
right.
I think, just to try and get back on track with after a tough loss to K-State, I think this is going to be kind of another high-scoring game in this one, Brandon. I do. But I'm kind of leaning towards Baylor in this one, just a tad.
Interesting. Okay.
I like the way that they've been playing recently, and I think they'll continue their renaissance in a way. I think I really like Robertson. Young kid, but I think that this would be a good win for him. So I'll go Baylor getting the win in this one. Like I said, I think it's going to be high scoring, because we both mentioned the defense for both these teams are maybe a little subpar and need some work.
Lacking.
Lacking, need a little bit of TLC. But I think I'll go for this one. I'll go Baylor 34, and I'll go TCU 28 for my final score.
Dang, okay, I like it. I'm kind of flip side of you. Similar score. I got TCU 34, Baylor 27. I think I kind of lean TCU just with the home field advantage. They play better at home, and I've got them. I think they right the wrong from. I guess not really wrong, because they're still winning, but they fix their struggles, I think, versus Baylor. It's a good defense to get back on track offensively.
yeah, we'll see how this one goes this upcoming Saturday. Like I said, noon kickoff there in Fort Worth. And speaking of Texas, talking about Texas, not about not about Baylor, not about any of the other teams. Talking about Texas Tech right now. Right now, the top dog, number 9 in
It probably
the nation.
should be ranked higher. Let's be honest.
But
the SEC bias is ridiculous.
You take what you're given, man. That's just how it is. But good
fair.
matchup here, man. Texas Tech taking on Arizona State. 4 p.m. kickoff for this matchup. This is going to be in Tempe out there in Arizona. So Sun Devil fans get a treat for this one. Texas Tech ranked number 7. And Arizona State actually not ranked right now. I forget they fell out of their ranking. So how are we liking about this one, Brand? Good matchup here. I know Arizona State not ranked anymore, but they have had some good flashes, I'd say, so far this year and some good moments. How are we feeling, though, about Texas Tech? Let's start with them, highest ranked team we're going to cover today.
Yeah, I mean, Texas Tech, they're humming. I mean, they're going along on all cylinders. I mean, it was kind of more of the same versus Houston. Morton was dealing. Really, I would say the big player that shined in that game was Carl Dickey. I mean, he got loose on a couple big long runs, and that's where it starts. Is you got to contain that, because if you're worrying about trying to stop the run and defend Texas Tech's passing attack, that's just a recipe for disaster. And that's exactly what you saw. I mean, what they had that game, I would say, put away by halftime. Like, realistically, you know what I mean? I don't think it was a big struggle for them. And then to David Bailey, excuse me, the end for Texas Tech. He's leading the nation in sacks right now. That dude's a beast. He's got a quick bend around the edge and one heck of a get off, because there's, I mean, multiple plays where you're watching and he's a game raker if you don't game plan for him.
No, I agree, man. And like I said, Texas Tech has looked so impressive this year. Like I said, perfect 6-0. They've dominated all of their matchups this season. They've never really even been in trouble, you could say. That's how good they've looked. I mean, they've 17 right against Kansas was the most amount of points they've given up so far this season. So
I gotta throw out. I called that, by the way. I just got to revert to my notes. Yeah. Kansas, I called 38-17 on the Tech game. What did they end up with? 35? Or what was the final again?
For what? Kansas and Tech?
Yeah.
Yeah, 42-17.
Ooh, all right. Yeah. So I was 4 points off because I called 38-17.
Well, hey, I'd say you got Kansas' score right just off on Tech, but that's how it goes sometimes. We get as close as we can, honestly.
Right.
But I think, like I said, Texas Tech, man, they've looked great. All sides of the ball. You can't really say much negative about them right now if they're ranked as high as they are in the nation.
No,
obviously,
I mean, biggest question mark with them's quarterback.
You don't like Morton, or you think that?
No, I like Morton, and I thought he was dealing with an injury again, and it was question mark if Hammond was coming in this next game.
Let me do a little research here and see if he's going to be available. I hope so.
Because that was like the only thing I could and not even nitpicking, because like you said, they're playing good football, but that was kind of the only question. But even then, their backup came in and put away Utah in the end. So I don't think it's the worst thing. But
so I see here, it looks like it's going to be a day-to-day injury.
Okay.
Looks like negative X-rays and MRI results. Looks like it was a nerve issue in his foot is kind of what I'm seeing here. It happened after it was a sack, and he, I guess, got pinched or something right there. But it's not saying he's fully going to be on the team. It's kind of undetermined right now. But you kind of hope that he is going to be healthy. It doesn't seem like it's anything major. And I think for a game like this, he's going to want to come back. It's one thing for facing off against the D3 school. You know what I mean? But against an Arizona State team who they can't upset you if you let them, you don't want to kind of take any chances, in a kind of pivotal point in the season as we're, they're 6-0. So you got a little bit more time left, but you don't want to make any mistakes with this one. So hopefully Morton's going to be able to make it in this game, just add on even more to it. But let's talk about Arizona State. And I know we're going to talk a little bit more about the Utah portion here in just the next matchup. But talk about Arizona State and kind of what you saw in their game against Utah previous week.
I mean, that's one of those burn the tape games for Arizona State. We're gonna be honest on that one. They got punched in the mouth and then dominated for 4 straight quarters. I think the only thing I guess the positive to come off of it is it's going to be a rough week of practice, but that usually leads to a better outcome, the following week, because they're getting it this week in practice for sure. Based on, I mean, if you saw Kenny Dillingham's response and everything, he's going to get them right and at least be competitive in this game. Same thing kind of comes to question. Sam Levitt, they said they have him week to week. And so that's, I mean, if Levitt plays, I like him to be competitive in this game, but if it's Sims again, I mean, Tech, I expect Tech to dominate in the trenches, but if it's not Levitt, it's highly lopsided because Levitt is a lot better than Sims, but I just think that the team too, the veteran leadership, the team kind of plays to a higher level around Levitt as well.
No, you brought up a good point. Obviously, in the game that you saw that it was not Levitt. Unfortunately, you didn't get the prime competition. You got Jeff Sims, and you guys dominated, rightfully so. We'll talk more about that, but you hope that Levitt can make it back, because if not, then I think it might be rough sledding for Arizona State.
It's just Arizona. I was going to say Texas Tech can make you really one-dimensional. We saw that. I mean, perfect example. I mean, first anybody, but especially Utah, they made them straight one-dimensional. And so you're going to want a better passer in that situation. That's where Levitt, I think, can at least beat you as a one-dimensional passer if he gets in a rhythm and does it, where Sims didn't show that ability. And then like I said, just kind of watching it, Jordan Tyson had a really rough game. I kind of mentioned that too, but they target him 16 times. He got 8 receptions for 40 yards. So they need somebody else to get going too, to take some pressure off of Tyson, because I expect Tech to pull a similar game plan as Utah. We laid a blueprint, and they have every bit of the defensive ability to copy it. You know what I mean?
No, I understand completely. And I also see here, just kind of, whenever I was looking at Levitt's injury, I also came across this news that came out a couple days ago, and that saying that Ben Coleman, offensive lineman, senior, and also senior linebacker Zaris Fiaso will both miss the remainder of the season. Coleman had a left arm injury, played his first 5 games at center, but he moved to left guard against the Utah game, which I'm assuming is where he got that injury. Unfortunately, to both those gentlemen on the offense and defense side, going to be out, which hurts the team, obviously, in any way, shape, or form that you lose got an injury. Let alone 2 seniors, right? 2 guys who've been around the program who, are playing for, draft positioning, keep their college football careers going. Tough to see, but hopefully they can, rest up and get back to full health quickly. But to me, I think that if Levitt doesn't play, and do you think this, if they announce that Levitt doesn't play, right? If you're Texas Tech, do you kind of take the chance and not bring, Morton back a little bit quicker, or do you hold off? Because he is also a little bit banged up. Do you kind of bring him back knowing that they're going to have Jeff Sims out there, or do you maybe keep him active but you bench him, just in case things get a little bit testy, you can put him out there if you need to?
If you do have that luxury with Hammond, I think either quarterback for Tech is, I think, capable of handling the Arizona State game, especially if Levitt's out. Because I'd say Levitt gets an extra 7 to 10 points difference in the pick, but I'm still leaning Texas Tech way, just based on their defensive dominance.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get my final score out the way. And I'm assuming that, since Levitt is week to week and not day to day, I'm going to assume at this time we're recording that he's not going to make it.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's just that, if you look back and he did play, that what can we do? So I'll go final score for this one. I'm going to have Texas Tech dominating, remaining undefeated, and probably moving up power rankings even more. I will go final score for them. I'll go 37 compared to Arizona State. I'll have them with, I'm with 17. I don't think it's going to look great for Jeff Sims and company.
17. Okay, I'm kind of right there with you. With like if we're gonna say Levitt's not playing, I got Tech 35, Arizona 10. Because I don't like I said, I got every belief that Texas Tech can copy that game plan, and they didn't have an answer against Utah, and Tech's defense is just as potent, if not more potent. So, yeah, I got Tech in that one. Like I said, I'd give 10 more points to Levitt if he was in. Right. I'd go 35-21 if Levitt was in, but it's still Tech's win.
Just how it is right now. But we'll see what happens. I'm expecting still, like I said, good matchup overall this upcoming weekend, 4:00 kick. And final game here, we're going to be talking about Utah and BYU. And I know, Brandon, you are excited for this one. Big rivalry here with Utah, currently ranked number 23, and BYU at number 15. But we just mentioned, Utah a little bit in their previous matchup. So talk about their win against Arizona State and kind of what you saw and who all impressed you watching them.
Oh man, Holy War Week is crazy in Utah. Let me say that first, because every the Big 12 chats are buzzing on Facebook. Your mutual matchups at church are going. You got sides on people on both sides of the aisle, and I think someone said it best. But this rivalry makes sane people not I can't remember what he put it, but they do erratic things. Like you see pretty rational people be very irrational. I can attest to that. So it's a crazy week. Coming off the win that Utah did, I mean there's no better way to be rolling into this game. Especially the way Arizona State got ranked over Utah in the same bye week. I kind of pointed that out, and we said, is it because they're 2-0 in the conference? And I'd said, well, who has the better quality loss? And Utah proved they are the better quality team, I would say, by far too. So, Dampier, we only threw the ball 12 times, but it's kind of because we didn't need to exactly. I mean, they had no answer for the dual threat of Dampier. Also watching that game, I can now attest and tell that there was definitely some type of hindrance or injury that injured or hindered Dampier in the Texas Tech game, because he was not that mobile in that game. And you're watching him in this game, outrunning safeties to the corner. And, I didn't know he had that kind of speed, honestly. And so him showing that, I was quite impressed with his running ability. I mean, dropping 265 yards on what at the time was the 8th ranked rushing defense in the country. That's no easy feat, there. And then defense, I called it, and I said one of the most exciting matchups that I was watching was Snowden and Tyson. And did it live up to expectations? I mean, Snowden put it on tape, and I think he's got some good draft stock, and he's one of the best corners in the country. And I think he proved it, because I'm pretty sure he followed Tyson more than 80% of the time. And for you to talk, like I said, 16 targets, 8 catches, 40 yards, that's great numbers for Snowden. And so I was super impressed with that. And then, both sides of the line, defense and offensive line, they owned in the trenches. I mean, they were resetting the line of scrimmage in the run game, and they were plugging holes. And the one touchdown they ended up getting, it was on we could call it a questionable call, because the ball dang near went into the stands, and then they threw PI. And I'm like, last I checked, PI, you got to at least have a catchable ball as well. But that's the only one that led to their touchdown. If not, I think they probably hold them to 6. But neither here nor there. I was impressed in just the total 4 quarters of dominant football that Utah played, especially with the weather too. It didn't, the way they operated and played, it wouldn't have looked like that it was like a monsoon most of the game.
Right. Yeah. And, I think that talking with about Utah, man. Devin Dampier's impressed a lot of people already, but I mean, he just kind of continues, week by week. When you look at his numbers, kind of sitting back now and looking at it, he so far has looked great. 1,100 yards through the air, 11 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions and 3 sacks as well. He's got 5 rushing touchdowns as well. He's the top rusher for close to 400 yards. So I mean, he's proven that he can get it done. With his arms and with his legs, which is what you love to see throughout football, whether it be college or the NFL. So it's good that you have that kind of dual threat weapon on your team. But like I say, you got some good players as well, like Parker, your running back, and Rogers. Of course, Ryan Davis has looked tremendous all season, 39 grabs for 416, 2 touchdowns. Bentley, your tight end, he's looked solid. Like I said, Smith Snowden, he can get things done. I mean, that's like it. Look, Smith Snowden has 13 catches for 57 yards. He can get it done as well there too, Brad. He can
on both sides,
offense and defense. But I mean, like you guys just got a good roster, right? Offensively, you mentioned defense. I just mentioned Snowden. We talked about how well he's looked all year. I mean, Henry Daly, 8 sacks, ringing a lot of bells, moving up a lot of draft boards right now. So he's looking great. And of course, a plethora of other great guys over there as well, like Hall, your linebacker, who's got 30 tackles, and Barton as well. So it's looking good for the Utes. But let's talk about the Cougars, and we talked about their very close, but they still won matchup, double OT against Arizona. Just kind of, talk a little bit more about them. I know we mentioned them earlier in the show, but maybe what you think they can change against BYU this week to come out with a win.
Well, first and foremost, I mean, they're going to have to win the line of scrimmage and be able to produce first downs in the run game, because I'll say it right now. If they can limit Martin's carries and control that, Bear beating you in the air that's the way you approach it, because I think it a little bit, I don't want to say it got exposed, but I mean, he threw some bad picks last week, and I could see that continuing if you can keep him one dimensional and not able to rely on his run game and play action out of that. Get Kelly and Glasgow. I know Kelly was cleared to play that game, but they held him out, so I'm expecting him to be healthy for the Utah matchup, and I think they held him out because they know that Kelly's probably going to be the biggest difference maker on how much of a dual threat Dampier has against BYU. Because if I had to go who's spying him, I'm gonna point to Kelly. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I agree. You look to Kelly to just be that guy to watch out for. But I think with BYU, like you mentioned, I think Bachmeier has to have a bounce back game in this matchup. He had a little bit of a rough one, which we hadn't really seen up to that point. But I think that he can get it right. Like I said, LJ Barton, if you can just contain him, I mean, I think you've got a pretty good shot, honestly, because he's done fabulous work this year. For BYU with his running game, 652, 4 touchdowns, but he averages 6.5 yards per rush. So I mean, he's eating clock, he's getting first downs, he's getting touchdowns. Yep. So you can limit that. That's going to really help out, especially if Bachmeier does struggle again. Now, receiving core, you have to kind of pick your poison here. Do you want to shut down Chase Roberts or Parker Kingston? I mean, because they're pretty much the same player in a sense of their stat-wise for the most part, 22 and 23 catches respectively. Roberts hasn't beat the yardage, 420 compared to 333, 3 touchdowns for Roberts and 2 for Kingston. So you just kind of best of luck to the corners, right? And hopefully, right, at least one of them can get some good work in. But that's going to be a matchup, honestly, Brandon. Who you mentioned the trenches, obviously, but who's going to win off scrimmage there in that first step? Is going to be the defensive backs, the wide receivers. Who's going to get that quicker first step, maybe that cut. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm excited to see that kind of matchup. 8:00 kick for this one. But let's get into our final thoughts here, final predictions. I mean, we're in it with the holding war, man. I mean, this is a proper way to end the show, to talk about your favorite team, talk about their upcoming matchup, big rivalry, of course. I think I know which team you're going to side with, but I just want to hear the score you got.
Yeah, and let me throw out a couple more matchups I wanted to point out, just kind of between the two to watch, because this game's got some high tier, individual matchups that we're looking at. I want to throw out the variables is obviously home field advantage for BYU. That place is crazy, but let's not get it twisted. This is the revenge tour from last year. The way that game ended, especially any of the defenders that were there. I mean, a lot of the offensive players were new; they weren't a part of it. But Smith, Snowden, Lander, Barton, like they were there, and they felt I would say the disrespect that they got, and this is a revenge game. They're going to go into Provo and remind them who's big brother. Like I'll say that right now. The matchups to watch though. John Henry Daly versus Isaiah Jada. I'm not sure how to say it. I mean, Jada's 7th ranked in rushing as in run block, and he's 26th ranked in pass block. So that's going to be a heck of a matchup to watch. JHD, he's currently, I want to say he's tied for 3rd in the country with sacks. And I was shocked by this. He is currently producing at a 29.2% win rate in the pass rush. So that is that is, like I said, that's incredible on his side. But how does Isaiah hold up? He's pretty highly ranked himself, so that's a good matchup there. And then I'll throw it out there: Smith Snowden versus Chase Roberts. I like Snowden to shut down Roberts. I don't think anyone's pointing to Roberts being a better wide receiver than Tyson, and Tyson, met the same fate. And as you mentioned, Kingston, we got a Benny Jackson on the other side too. So the Utes, I mean, I think the Utes secondary is one of their strong suits as well. They played one of their best games last week too. They challenged a lot of downfield throws, and they were, a lot of times just right there in the back pocket of the receiver and, in good position to make a play. And so I expect tight windows for Bear. And then the other matchup is going to be, like I kind of mentioned it, Kelly and Glasgow. Can they contain Dampier? His dual threat ability. If they're trying to worry about stopping the run and his RPO ability and play action, that could end up being a long night. I thought it was interesting. He ranks 12th in completion percentage in the country and 13th in QBR. So he's playing really efficient football right now. So that one's, going to be the interesting one to kind of watch. Tavavasu, the former U, went and got a targeting, I think, in the second half. So he's, I believe, out for the first half of the Utah BYU game, which he's I don't want to say traitor, but he flipped sides, So that's kind of interesting because I wanted to see how he'd fare against the Utah line when it's, live and not in practice. But and then the other option is Utah D line. Can they contain Martin? Because if they do, I think it's a long day for Bear back there. Arizona got after him and showed pressure, and at the clip that the Utes are pressuring and putting guys in man coverage and bringing extra dudes after the quarterback. I think he's going to be in, I don't want to say for a rude awakening, but the Utes are really good at making freshman quarterbacks look like freshman quarterbacks, even really good ones. Like the one that comes to mind is Jaden Daniels one time rolled into Rice-Eccles Stadium and threw for a whopping 40 yards passing in the entire game as a freshman quarterback. So I'm kind of like, I don't care how good you are, you're still a freshman, and the Utes defense will expose that.
Yeah, and we will see what happens. I'm gonna go my final score here, Brandon. I will have the Utes get to win this one. I feel like if I didn't pick them, you might throw me off the show anyway. So I'm gonna have to go with Utah. Final score, I'm gonna go close in this one. Let's go. How about this? Let's go Utah 28. Let's go BYU 23. 28-23 final score.
I like it. I mean, you're picking Utah because you don't want to be wrong. I'm not going to throw you off the show or anything. You don't want to be wrong.
We'll see. Yeah.
But I'm leaning Utah. Like I said, this is the revenge game. They're back for blood from last year, and it's 35-17 Utah.
All right.
We go kick our feet up in their house on their couch.
And sit back and relax. And that's what you all can do after watching this show. You can go back and watch our previous shows and see if we've got them all right, how many picks we've gotten right and wrong, the scores, et cetera, et cetera. You can also check out the rest of our great content we have here on the channel, Facebook, YouTube. Just go and scroll endlessly. You can find more game previews for conferences or just football in general, whether it be NCAA or the NFL. Of course, we got draft prospects, talking about those. We're interviewing great players, coaches, staff members, just anyone in the world of sports that we can get our hands on and want to chat with us for 45 minutes to an hour. We'll bring them on, and so much other great content here on the channel. Well, for Brandon Larson, once again, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show today and helping out with our Big 12 preview, or our Big 12 roundup and game preview show. I've been your host and producer, Logan Landers. Take it easy this weekend, everyone. Go watch some Big 12 football. And until next time, we'll see you.